A cat leaped into her taxi and wouldn't budge. She thought it was just a stubborn stray until she realized why it chose her car. "That is not my cat," the passenger said. He laughed and shrugged, then slid into the back seat like nothing strange had happened. The cat did not move. It sat on the front passenger seat calm as anything, staring straight through the windshield like it was ready for the road. Maya Sterling had driven a taxi for 14 years. She had seen drunk men cry about their mothers. She had driven a woman to the hospital mid-labor. She had once found a live turkey in her trunk, but a cat walking into her vehicle like a paying customer, that was new. "Sir, is this your cat?" she asked again. The man held up both hands. I swear, never seen it before. The cat was coal black from nose to tail, not a single white hair anywhere. Its eyes were a deep liquid gold, the kind of yellow that almost glowed in dim light. Around its neck sat a red collar with a small round tag. Maya leaned over and tried to scoop it up. The cat flattened its ears and let out a low, firm growl. She pulled her hand back. "Fine," Maya muttered. "You win." She put the car in gear. The meter was running. She had fares to pick up, and a cat was not going to ruin her Tuesday. The man in the back seat chuckled quietly. "Looks like you have got yourself a co-pilot." Maya glanced at the cat. It had settled deeper into the seat. Then it turned its gaze out the window as the city began to slide past. Something about that look made her chest tighten, a sense of profound, quiet waiting. She dropped the man off on a busy avenue and sat for a moment in the idling car. The smart thing would be to pull over, grab the cat, and take it to the shelter. That was the responsible thing. But the cat looked so comfortable, and she had her next pickup in 3 minutes. She told herself she would deal with it after the next fare. Just one more ride. That one more ride turned into 2, then 3, then 4. This is where we see a beautiful lesson in how life's best moments often come from the interruptions we try to avoid. Before we continue with the rest of this unbelievable shift, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel. The reason this cat came to her taxi is something you probably wouldn't expect, and it teaches us so much about the resilience of the soul. The first fare after the cat's arrival was a young woman heading to the central station. She opened the back door and froze. "Oh my God, is that a cat?" "He just showed up," Maya explained. "I cannot get him out." The woman slid in carefully. The cat turned its head and regarded her with royal indifference. "He is gorgeous," the woman whispered. She pulled out her phone and snapped 3 photos before they even left the curb. The next passenger was a businessman in a sharp navy suit. He climbed in without looking, and then he saw the cat. His leather briefcase nearly fell from his hands. "There is a cat in this taxi." "Yes," Maya said. "There is." "Why is there a cat in this taxi?" He refused to leave. The businessman stared at her, then at the cat. Then he did something Maya did not expect. He laughed. A deep, genuine laugh that shook his shoulders. It was the sound of a man remembering how to be human. He laughed so hard his eyes watered. "This is the best taxi ride of my life," he said. He loosened his tie and leaned back. He even scratched the cat behind the ears, and the cat allowed it. Maya watched in the mirror. The businessman's face had softened. The corporate mask had crumbled. "Rough morning?" she asked. "Rough year," he said quietly. Then he smiled at the cat. "But this helps more than any meeting." He tipped her double when he got out. But not everyone was charmed. And this reminds us that even when we do something kind, there will always be those who only see the rules. Around 10:45, she picked up a man in a crisp polo shirt, heading to a suburban office complex. He climbed in, saw the cat, and his expression went flat. "There is a cat in this car." "Yes, sir." He I am allergic, severely." "Is this some kind of joke?" Maya's stomach dropped. "I am so sorry. He showed up this morning, and I have not been able to—" "This is a taxi, not a pet store." The man was already pulling out his phone. "I am calling another car. You should not have animals in a vehicle that carries the public." He got out and shut the door harder than necessary. Maya sat there, face burning. He was not wrong. She knew he was not wrong. There were rules about this kind of thing. If the company got a complaint, she could lose her shift, maybe worse. She looked at the cat. He had not reacted to any of it. He sat on his seat calm and unbothered, washing one paw with slow, careful strokes. This cat had a lesson for her. Don't let the anger of others disturb your inner peace. "You are going to get me fired," she told him. He did not look up. He just kept washing his paw. Around lunchtime, she parked near the river and ate a sandwich in the front seat. The cat sat beside her, watching the water through the window. She tore off a small piece of turkey and offered it. He sniffed it carefully, then ate it from her palm, with surprising gentleness. "So who are you?" she asked him. She reached over and turned the tag on his red collar. One side had a small engraved paw print. She flipped it over. An address. Neat block letters. 42 Willow Creek. She did not recognize the street, but that was fine. She had a GPS and the whole afternoon ahead of her. She would finish her shift and take him home. Simple. Except nothing about this day was turning out to be simple. Her next fare was a teenager. He got in, spotted the cat, and his entire mood shifted. He went from slouching and silent to wide-eyed and grinning in half a second. "No way. Is that a real cat?" "Very real," Maya said. "Can I pet him?" "He seems to allow it." He reached out and the cat butted his forehead right into the boy's open hand. The teenager melted. "My mom will not let me have a cat," he said. "She says they are too much work." He scratched under the cat's chin and a purr filled the entire car. Deep and rattling like a small engine. Does she hear this? This is the opposite of work. This is medicine. Maya laughed. Even the cat seemed to be enjoying himself, eyes half closed, leaning into every scratch. It's a powerful reminder that animals don't see our status or our age. They only see our hearts. When the teenager got out near the local college, he ducked back down to the window. "Hey, if you ever want to start a business, you should call it the Cat Cab. I would ride that every day." Maya smiled and shook her head. Ridiculous. But the name stuck in her mind. The afternoon brought more fares and more reactions. One elderly woman burst into tears the moment she saw him. "I lost my cat last month," she told Maya, her voice trembling. He was black, too. His name was Midnight. The cat walked across the back seat and placed one paw on the old woman's knee. It was a gesture of pure empathy that no human could have performed. The woman stroked his fur with shaking fingers. She did not say another word for the entire ride. When she got out, she held Maya's hand through the window. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this meant." Then there was a woman in running gear who wrinkled her nose the second she got in. "Is that sanitary?" she asked, eyeing the cat like it carried a disease. Maya offered to call her a different cab, but the woman waved her off and sat as far from the cat as the back seat allowed. She spent the entire ride with her arms crossed and her lips pressed thin. When she got out, she did not tip, but after her, an older man with a cane got in around 2:15. He said nothing about the cat, did not acknowledge it at all. He sat in the back seat and stared out the window in silence for the entire ride. But when Maya glanced in the mirror, she saw it. The cat had climbed into the back seat at some point. It sat right beside the old man, and the man was crying, silently, tears rolling down his weathered face into his beard. Maya said nothing. Some moments are sacred and are not meant to be interrupted. When the man got out, he pressed a folded $50 into her hand and held it there for a second. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough. That was all. He did not explain. The sun began to drop. Orange light flooded through the windshield. Maya's shift was ending. She had driven 16 fares today. Most had smiled because of the cat. A few had been annoyed or uncomfortable. 3 had cried. 5 had tipped extra. 2 had asked if they could adopt him. A handful of passengers had taken photos. And through all of it, the cat sat on his seat like a small furry anchor, calm and present and completely at ease. But she could not keep driving with the cat forever. She knew that the company had rules. Health regulations existed. Sooner or later, someone would file a real complaint. Maya picked up the tag on his collar again. 42 Willow Creek. Time to take this guy home. His family was probably worried sick. The drive took 40 minutes. Rush hour traffic crawled. The cat sat upright in the passenger seat the whole time, alert, watchful, his tail flicking back and forth as the street lights began to glow. Maya turned onto Willow Creek. She counted the numbers: 34, 36, 38, 40. Then she stopped. Number 42 did not exist. A chain-link fence surrounded an empty lot. Broken concrete, piles of rubble, a single wall still standing half demolished with wallpaper peeling off it. Faded blue wallpaper with tiny stars. Someone's bedroom wall. Maya sat in the car for a long time. The cat stared out the window. His ears flattened against his head and a small, quiet sound escaped his throat. Not a meow, something lower, something heartbreaking. He recognized this place. "This was your home," Maya whispered. The cat pressed his nose against the glass. She stepped out of the cab. The neighboring houses were still standing. A man stood in the yard next door coiling a garden hose. He was maybe 60 with a weathered face and work boots, the kind of man who had lived in the same place for decades. He watched her approach with tired eyes. "Excuse me," Maya called. "Do you know what happened to the house here, number 42? The man looked at the empty lot. "Condemned and demolished about 3 months ago. Foundation failed after the big floods." "The family that lived here, where did they go?" He shrugged. "The Jennings moved out west somewhere. Oregon, I think. It happened fast. 1 week they were here, the next they were loading a trailer." Maya's throat felt tight. She already knew what she was going to ask, and she already dreaded the answer. "They had a cat," she said. "A black cat." The man stopped coiling. He looked at her, and something shifted in his face. Something uncomfortable. "Yeah," he said. "They had a cat. Did they take him with them?" The man looked away. "No," he said. "They did not." The words landed like stones. "They just let him out the morning they left. I saw it from my kitchen window. The wife opened the front door, and the cat walked out like it was any normal day. Then they got in the car and drove off." Maya felt something hot rise in her chest. Her hands curled into fists at her sides. This is a lesson in human responsibility. We are responsible for what we have tamed. They did not bring him to a shelter, did not ask anyone to look after him. The man shook his head. "I think they figured he would wander off, find someone." Cats are survivors, right? He did not sound convinced by his own words. "I thought about taking him in, but my wife has bad asthma." I saw him around for a while, sitting on the rubble, waiting. The man paused and his voice dropped. "He sat there every day for the first month, right where the front porch used to be, just waiting for them to come back." He paused. "I should have done more." "I know that." Maya could not speak. Her throat had closed shut. She walked back to the cab and opened the passenger door. The cat sat there looking at her. Those golden eyes held something she could not quite name, something deeper than sadness, something like a question he had been carrying for 3 months. "Are you going to leave me too?" She sat down in the driver's seat. For a long time she did not start the engine. She just sat there looking at the empty lot through the windshield. He had waited a month, 30 days, sitting on broken concrete in the rain and the heat, watching for a door that no longer existed, listening for voices that would never return. And when he finally understood they were not coming back, he did the only thing he could do. He moved on. Instead of hiding, instead of giving up, he had walked up to a taxi, slipped in when someone else opened the door, and sat down. He had chosen her. Maya reached over and rested her hand on the cat's back. He leaned into her touch, and that deep rattling purr started up again. "Atlas," she said. She did not know where the name came from. It just felt right, strong, dignified, a name for a cat who had carried the weight of the world on his shoulders and still had the courage to trust a stranger. Atlas purred louder. "You are coming home with me," she said. "And I am not going anywhere." She drove home in silence. Maya lived alone in a small apartment on the 5th floor. 2 rooms, a tiny kitchen, and a balcony that overlooked an old oak tree. She carried Atlas up the stairs. He did not struggle. He leaned into her arms, and his warmth seeped through her jacket and settled around her heart. Inside, she set him on the floor. He explored cautiously. Then he jumped up onto her bed, turned around exactly 3 times, and lay down. Maya stood in the doorway and watched him. Her eyes stung. She was not the kind of woman who cried easily. 14 years of driving a taxi had taught her to keep her composure in almost any situation. But something about this small, abandoned creature making himself at home, cracked something open inside her. She realized that we don't save animals. They save us from our own loneliness. She wiped her eyes and went to the kitchen. She didn't have cat food, but she had several slices of roast beef. She put it in a bowl and set it on the floor. Atlas appeared within seconds, and he ate like he had not had a proper meal in weeks. "Welcome home," she said. That night she could not sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Atlas slept at the foot of the bed, his body rising and falling with each peaceful breath. But Maya's mind raced. She wondered how anyone could look at a creature so loyal, so trusting, so full of love, and simply drive away. It was a failure of the human heart, and she made a decision. The next morning, Maya went to the dispatch office. Her supervisor, a gravel-voiced man named Miller, sat behind a cluttered desk. "I want to bring a cat in the cab," she said. Miller stared at her. "No. Passengers loved him. I had the highest tips of any driver yesterday." "No. Miller, listen to me. He rode with me all day yesterday. Most of the passengers loved him. One woman said it was the best cab ride she had ever taken. And the ones who did not love him?" Maya hesitated. One guy was allergic. He got out and called another car. A woman thought it was unsanitary. "So we lost fares?" "We lost 2. But I got tipped extra on 8 others." Another long pause. "1 week," Miller said finally. "Trial run. If I get a single formal complaint to the office, the cat stays home. Clear?" "Crystal clear." The trial week came and went, without a single formal complaint reaching the office. There were passengers who were not thrilled. A woman who asked to switch to a different car. A man who sneezed twice and gave Maya a look, but nobody called to report it. And the passengers who loved Atlas far outnumbered the rest. Atlas took to the work like he was born for it. He seemed to understand on some deep level exactly what each passenger needed. He handled the attention with the dignity of a creature who had survived far worse. He sat on his seat like a small, furry king. He purred for strangers and comforted the lonely, made children laugh, and silenced the chaos of the city. One evening, about 8 months after Atlas first jumped into her cab, a woman with a rolling suitcase climbed into the back seat at the airport and immediately gasped. "Is this the cat cab? My friend told me about you when I said I was visiting your city." Maya smiled. "That is us." Atlas turned around and regarded the woman with his golden eyes. Then he turned back to the window. The woman laughed. "He is even cooler than she described." Maya pulled away from the curb and headed for the highway. She thought about that first morning, the cat slipping through the open door, the way Atlas had sat down on that seat with such quiet certainty as if he already knew where he was going. Maybe he did. Maybe he had spent months on that empty lot learning the hardest lesson any creature can learn. That love does not always stay. That the people you trust can drive away and never come back. That home can vanish overnight, torn down to rubble and pipes and dirt. And maybe after all that, he decided to believe anyway. To walk up to a stranger's car and climb in. To bet everything on one more chance. That is the bravest thing any living creature can do to keep your heart open after it has been broken. Because home is not an address on a collar tag. Home is the person who stays when everyone else leaves. Thank you for watching. If this story stayed with you, a like, comment, or subscription truly helps me keep sharing more stories you will love. Remember, kindness is a choice we make every single day.